so much for joining me once again. Today I'll be sharing some family meal ideas, including breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'll also be taking you around with me as we homeschool and I do some homemaking. In this video, I'm kind of taking you along throughout the week, and I'll be sharing some meal ideas that I made throughout this week. So to begin with, this morning I'm making a type of breakfast sandwich, and then I'll be sharing another breakfast idea. So stick around, and I hope that you will find some inspiration and just great meal ideas and homemaking motivation in this video. So this breakfast sandwich is a favorite of mine, and it always comes with a good memory. My brother-in-law taught me this breakfast sandwich last summer when we were visiting Seattle. We were on the Puget Sound at a beach house all together, and this is where I tried this breakfast sandwich for the first time. My brother-in-law made this for the family, and we all really enjoyed this, and I wanted to share this with you because it's a great meal and it tastes so good, and I think your family would love it just as much as mine does. The only thing, it's a little bit on the greasier, heavier side, so I don't make this frequently, but it definitely is a treat when I do make it. So this recipe calls for some mayonnaise on the bread, and so I'm starting by making some homemade mayo, and I have the recipe in the description below. If you want to make your own homemade mayo, I have that available for you. I recently started making my own homemade mayo because my family loves mayo on a lot of things like salads and sandwiches, and we even like to add it into soup sometimes. But I read the ingredients and I wasn't happy with them, especially the soybean oil. We try to stay away from soy as much as possible, and so I decided that I'm gonna make a mayo that my family likes and that we all enjoy. So at first I tried buying store-bought mayo that was like based on avocado oil or olive oil, but my family really did not like it, so I had to stop buying it. They said it tastes like wood, so I'm like, okay, this isn't working. I was like, I'm going to make the perfect tasting mayo that tastes just like the store-bought soybean oil one, because that's the one that we all like. And so I discovered that the secret for good tasting mayo is in the oil. And so when I perfected my recipe, I realized that the best tasting mayo, the one that my family loves the best, is when I use extra light olive oil. We get the one from Costco, and that's been our favorite. So if you're looking for mayo that has a very subtle taste and tastes very similar to the store-bought one, I would highly recommend using light olive oil. So what makes these breakfast sandwiches so delicious is the eggs. So you basically crack an egg into a bowl, add some salt, some black pepper, some paprika. Actually, no, there was no black pepper, sorry. So just salt, paprika, and a big key spice here would be garlic powder. It just changes the whole taste and it adds so much flavor. And another key ingredient here is Havarti cheese. I get the one from Costco. I tried it with cheddar and I've tried it with other types of cheeses. It is just not the same. So the Havarti cheese is a huge deal for these breakfast sandwiches to taste perfect. Another thing you will need for these breakfast sandwiches is sourdough bread. You can also use any type of your favorite bread, but the original recipe was on sourdough bread. So here I have some sourdough bread that I made the previous day, and I had it just sliced and stored in a Ziploc bag. So I'm just pulling that out and using yesterday's bread for this recipe. Sometimes I do it fresh bread that same morning that I baked it. Obviously that tastes the best, but this works too. This day was Wednesday, and so after breakfast we went upstairs to get some school done, and then for lunch I decided that I wanted to make some Cobb salads. So I'm just going to make some hard-boiled eggs real quick, and I'm also going to use some of that mayo that we made this morning and turn it into ranch to serve as dressing on top of our Cobb salad today. Ranch is another big staple sauce in our household. Everybody in the house loves ranch on anything and everything, so we love to use it in salads, in say on top of chicken or steak, also as a veggie dip or a french fry dip. And another family favorite of ours is we love making sweet potato fries, especially on Fridays. And so that's another thing that we absolutely love, is to dip our homemade sweet potato fries into our homemade ranch dressing. It tastes so good without all of those extra, totally unnecessary ingredients that you will find in store-bought mayo. My ranch recipe is super simple, and I really hope that if you try it, that you really enjoy it and you like the flavor. So sometimes you'll find that your mayo texture will be a little bit different. Sometimes it'll be more smooth and creamy, and other times it'll be more like fluffy and kind of like firm. So the texture of your homemade ranch dressing will vary based off of how your mayo turned out. And so if you followed the directions on my recipe and you find that your ranch dressing is a little bit too thick and you want it more creamy, just slowly add in more milk until you reach the desired texture. Ever since I started making homemade ranch dressing, Cobb salads have been a favorite around here. It's a great way to get everyone to eat their veggies, and also it's a great way to use up some leftover chicken that we didn't finish at dinner time. I love to just add that in there, and then some days I'll also add croutons just so it's a little bit more filling. Up next, I'm making some chocolate chip cookies that our daughter made the day before. These cookies are basically a staple around here because our kids love them so much, especially with a glass of fresh milk. So I end up making these cookies probably 2 to 3 times a week. It's a great snack to have on hand when they get hungry throughout the day and it's not mealtime yet. They'll just grab a cookie and go back playing outside. Of course, I try to have a healthy balance of everything to make sure that there's always fruits readily available for them to grab as a snack as well. But these chocolate chip cookies really do help when we have them on hand. They're really nice to have, and they keep those little bellies full. And anytime we bring these chocolate chip cookies to potluck at church, they're gone instantly. People love them, so be sure to grab that recipe down in the description below so you can make them at your home as well.
Next week.
So this is another morning this week, and I am making blueberry Dutch baby pancake today. This is another staple breakfast in our household. I'll either make a plain Dutch baby pancake, or I'll make the blueberry Dutch baby pancake. And they're both equally delicious and such a treat and a really great way to start your day. I think probably my most favorite thing about this Dutch baby pancake is that you just put the entire thing into a 12-inch cast iron pan. And I love that a whole lot better, especially because we're a homeschool family and I do make breakfast every day from scratch. And some days I just want to be as quick as possible, so I'm not in the mood to be making individual pancakes one by one. So a lot of times I'm like, yes, I love that I have this recipe on hand. I'm just gonna make the batter, pour it in that cast iron pan, stick it in the oven, and forget about it. And I love that it feeds the entire family, and everyone can have even 2 pieces if they wanted to. And I'll always serve it with a side of maybe some breakfast sausage or bacon, just to make sure that everyone is full. This linked down below also, but just to note that you do want to preheat your cast iron pan in the oven as your oven preheats. Those are blueberries. Yes, I'll give you some in just a moment.
Blueberries.
All right, you can have those last ones. What do you say?
Can I put it in there?
Oh, yes, but be very careful. While our blueberry Dutch baby pancake is baking in the oven, I am getting started on some sourdough bread. And normally I would do this at night, but last night I didn't get to it. And so I just decided to feed my starter late at night and then just proceed to make the bread in the morning. And I've shared in other videos before too that my new way of making sourdough bread, I would just mix the dough the night before, and I would just, without stretch and folding, without doing anything to it, I would just make the dough, set it on the side on the counter overnight, and then just shape and refrigerate in the morning. But today, since I'm working on my bread throughout the day, I will be doing stretch and folds, and I kind of just want to compare and see if I see a difference this time, because previous times I haven't really been able to see much of a difference between when I do take the time to do full stretch and folds, the whole 4 sets, and when I don't do any stretch and folds at all. I haven't been able to see any difference really. So as I mentioned again, since I'm making my sourdough bread during the day today, I'm just doing a little experiment and seeing if this time I'll be able to notice a difference in maybe the quality or texture of the bread. When it comes to sourdough or any type of cooking, really, I'm no professional. I'm not really good at it. I'm just a mom who loves to make food and feed her family, and these are just my opinions and just things that I've learned how to make my life easier over the years, and I just like to share these things with you. After school, I'm just doing a quick light cleanup of all the high traffic areas in the house, and so for us that's basically the hallway and the kitchen area, so I'm just cleaning that up real quick. I'm also doing another set of stretch and folds. Today for dinner, I decided that I wanted to make chicken pot pie. So actually the other day, our daughter made the pie crust for me, and I just had it sitting in the fridge waiting until I was ready to make the pie. And so right now I'm just chopping up some veggies, some celery, carrots, and I'll be cooking it together with some diced up chicken breast all in one pot, so that makes that easy. While I wait for the chicken and veggies to boil, I'm also going to start on the gravy. So for the gravy, I'm just going to saute 1 onion. I'm going to add in some fresh garlic and some flour at the end. Once the flour absorbs all the juices from the onions, I'm going to add in broth and some heavy cream. You can also use half and half if you want the gravy a little bit more runny. I like mine extra thick, so I'm using heavy cream. Also forgot to mention that I did throw in a stick of butter that melted before I added in the sauteed onions and garlic. A couple of days ago, I asked our daughter to make some pie crust, and she made it, but I ended up not making the pot pie on the day that I was planning to, so the pie crust ended up staying in the fridge for a little bit too long. It was probably for 3 or 4 days before I finally got to it, so by the time I started working with it, it was a little bit difficult to work with, but I just added a couple drops of water, and that made it a little bit better and more soft, and so I was able to make this pie crust work even though it was several days old sitting in the fridge. While the pot pie is baking and we're waiting on our dinner, I am taking this time to make a sour cream pound cake. So this pound cake is actually a recipe that our sweet pastor's wife shared with me. We came to her house once for a deacons and wives dinner, and she served this delicious pound cake, and I just had to have the recipe, and I got her permission, and she said that I am allowed to share this. So I am making this recipe today, and I'm not quite ready to share the recipe yet because I do feel like I messed up a little bit on the pound cake, so I'll make it one more time and then I will be sure to share this amazing recipe with all of you. One of my absolute favorite things about being a homemaker is that I get this wonderful job of getting to create the warmth and the coziness for my family to enjoy. I get to create the atmosphere of the house. I can make it as cozy and as inviting and colorful, and I love that that's my role in the home and in the family, and I try to do that with all of my heart. I try to pour in my love into my hands so that I can make the most wonderful, inviting environment for my family to live in and enjoy daily. So because the pound cake was finished baking pretty late last night, and because we had such a heavy meal already with the pot pie, I decided to save the pound cake for the following day. So the next day we got up and we got to enjoy this delicious pound cake. And I also decided that I wanted a little bit of lemon icing to top it off. So in the morning I made that. I mixed some powdered sugar with some fresh lemon juice and just topped that off, and it made the pound cake even prettier and it made the taste even more amazing.